Good morning. We are here on Womanaging with the founder and owner of Wild Geese Bookshop, an AV rated lawyer and the newest winner of the Hoosier Hospitality Award. Everyone meet Tiffany Lauderdale Phillips.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Are you nervous? I know you've done a podcast in the past, but
It's a little bit, I never want to say something that's going to make my kids super cringed out, but it's always fun to be with you.
I always think of Nolan where he's just like, Mom, that's not it.
Yeah.
Like, you know how it is? Like, he's the sweetest.
Yeah, but he'll let me know if I'm out of line. Nobody has to worry about me not getting humbled because I'm humbled daily.
2 kiddos.
Yes.
I wanted to start off by definitely talking about childhood. That's something that I don't see a lot on. So what was your childhood like? Where did you grow up?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Owensboro, Kentucky, and I'm lucky that both my parents now live next door to me here in Franklin. They moved here a few years ago. And I was always a reader.
Yeah.
Always loved stories, telling stories. I'm the youngest of 3 girls. And, my favorite days were like, if you got your chores done, in the summer in particular, you could go to the library or the neighborhood pool.
Yeah.
Like that was great. But no, I was really lucky that I had family that valued books and valued reading and kind of let me be as kooky as I am. So yeah.
Were your 2 sisters big readers at all, or was it just you?
They still are. And one of my sisters has started writing too. But they're both really big readers. And then, so my sister Tara writes books too. She's a pen name, Kendra Powers.
Ooh.
And so she's just getting into that. And then my oldest sister, Tanya, has come and worked several events with us.
Yeah.
She loves, books, and she's a voracious reader. So that's been great to have her, support too. But they both were readers. And I think it helped me to, sneak into their rooms and snag books off the shelf that I probably shouldn't have been reading. But my sister Tara had a waterbed that had bookshelves built in, on the back.
Yes.
And all of her V.C. Andrews Flowers in the Attic books were there, and other things that were super inappropriate to read. But that's the thing about it. Like if kids are curious and they start reading, it kind of sets things off. Yeah. And then my grandmother, Pauline, so my mom's mom, was a big reader, and she lived to be 96.
Yeah.
And to the point when she had macular degeneration, I would bring her audiobooks that she could read, like on tapes back then.
Yeah.
But she was so funny. She would get paper bags, like grocery sacks full of books at the used bookstore. And, some of them, it was so funny. She would be like, well, these, she would just kind of point to the back. I'm ashamed for anybody to know I read those. And then these other ones, she was really funny. But yeah, I think I have a lot of readers in my family, or people who like to read all different kinds of things. And it was just sort of like, the way some families have favorite shows. Like,
yeah,
I do think a lot of my family are readers.
Yeah. Was there any one or any story in particular that sticks out to you where you're like, okay, like we read, or made you like jumpstart your love for reading? Like anything that sticks out in your childhood? Like,
that's such a great question. I remember a road trip where my parents put on like a Mary Higgins Clark murder mystery in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun to have that sort of collective experience where we're all like trying to solve who did it.
Yeah.
and kind of hearing it as we went along. And then I remember listening to like a Kathy Lee Gifford memoir with them in the car. And it had some gems in it, like it's so it just showed me like there's all different kinds of books. There's all different kinds of storytelling.
Yeah.
I'm from Kentucky, and then I lived in other parts of the South, and Southerners love stories. They love storytelling. I don't know if it goes back to porches or what, but there, I think, I guess that was part of it. I remember my sister, when I was little, being in a play that was based on Ramona and Her Father by Beverly Cleary.
Yes.
And I remember my mom illustrated the program for it. Actually, it could have been. Anyway, I'm probably mixing up stories, but I remember her being in plays and that encouraging me to read Beverly Cleary for some reason. And I loved Ramona Quimby.
I did too.
Yeah, she
I
just
love
felt like
those.
a relatable kid. And I think she put to words that feeling as you grow up of like really wanting to be still nourished and like kind of, taken care of and have this sense of I'm safe with my mom. Like she had these whole sections about like when she calls me her little bunny, I felt like, but also wanting to be really independent and really herself. And I think as a kid, it's hard to find language for that.
Yeah.
So those books were helpful.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think for me, it was more of my mom just like reading to me. That's all I knew. Or my Nana reading to me. And then I was like, this is just what we do.
Yeah.
Did you have, I was thinking about this yesterday. I never had a bookstore that I was like, I want to go here. It was always just Barnes and Noble. That's all I remember. Did you have a bookstore where you grew up that was like independent that sticks out to you or inspired you?
We had a Walden Books that was in the mall, which is a chain, but I think it was locally operated, I think by the Mayberries. But and it was lovely and I always looked forward to going.
Yeah.
But it was different, it was in a mall setting and so the experience was different. As a kid, I think I was more, going to the library. There weren't a lot of bookstores in my community at the time.
Mhm.
When I went to college though, bookstores really felt like a home away from home. You go in that
Yes.
familiarity of those stories and it's like seeing friends on the shelf to see those familiar titles. And so I went to the College of Charleston in South Carolina, and there was a bookstore at the time that's now out of business called Chapter 2. And it was very magical. It had like the library ladders and an upstairs, and you would go up, and it just felt I was 753 miles from home. And
Oh,
so it felt like welcoming and I felt at home there. And that happened every place I lived. And so I think being here and there not being a bookstore here is kind of part of what drove me to open this.
what made you want to go to the University of Charleston so far away from
I,
home?
yeah, I would vacation we'd gone on a trip, I guess, down to Hilton Head maybe once, and then took a day trip into Charleston, and it just felt really enchanting. And I remember we went to a harbor to look at boats. I was a sailor. I sailed but like on Kentucky Lake,
Yeah.
very different than ocean
Yeah.
sailing. And so we went to go look at boats at the marina. I think I was 8 or 9, and there was a little girl there with her parents. Her father was originally from Japan. Her mother was originally from England, and they were sailing around the world. And I had this whole conversation with her. We exchanged contact and we were pen pals for a little bit. And then she was on Good Morning America, like with her family. It was really wild.
Oh my
But it
gosh.
just, to me, Charleston felt like this place, like it felt like this harbor, where you could meet people from all over the world in a way, which was
Yeah.
probably, no more true than any other big city. But I loved being there. I loved the feel of the place. And so I loved going back to visit. And so when I started looking at colleges, I thought about it. And then I did sail for a little bit on their team, but I was like a walk-on, and I have a reader's body. I am not an athlete by any stretch of the imagination. And it was great, but it was also just really intense. They're like NCAA Division I, like they're big time.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I don't know that I'm really helping this team. And I'd had a loss, like my grandmother passed the first couple weeks I was in college. And so it was just like, I don't know, maybe I'll do this next year. And then I never went back to it. But that was part of the draw of Charleston. And I love the city. It sits below sea level. It just has this really interesting feel. And I'm definitely an ocean person. I feel like a mermaid out of water at times. Like, if it's been a year or so since I've been, I'm like a little curt. I need to go I need to go smell some salt water. So I think that was part of the draw.
Yeah.
But just like anything else, that first semester was really hard. It's hard to kind of find your footing, but it was good for me. It's good to be pushed outside of your comfort zone, and it's good to not be with people you've known your whole life. But.
Yeah. And I feel like I had the same thing. I went to IU Bloomington, which is obviously way closer. Everyone's like, this is going to be the best, like, part of your life, best experience, live in it. And I hated it the first semester.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like all I wanted to do was run back home and see my family. And I mean, it's not what everybody hypes it up to be. So for you to say, like, I had a hard, like, first semester, I'm like, okay, there you go. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think I think it's also completely okay to want to be close to home.
Yeah.
I think we're sort of conditioned that it's not,
Mm-hmm.
or that it's some act of courage to not.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important to listen to your inner voice. And if this is like, this is a bad fit for me, then I think you listen to that, I had a hard time, but I think I probably would have had a hard time most places because it was just such a different experience. I had been like the youngest and I don't know, it was just, I think I was growing in ways that growth period was always going to be a little challenging, just,
Yeah.
but yeah. And I think too, I thought, oh, this is going to be a snap. I think my expectations were ridiculous.
Yeah. Same.
So yeah, I think that's okay.
And what was your major at college?
I majored in English. I always thought I want to go to law school, but I thought as a backup, I was really interested in journalism. I'd worked on the newspaper as a high schooler, and I'd gone to this journalism camp at Western Kentucky University that was really formative, and they did photojournalism too. And so I had interned with the local newspaper in my hometown during high school with a photojournalist, Gary Eber-Nestle. He's wonderful and taught me a lot. And so I thought, well, they don't have a journalism program, but English is like the closest thing. And I did love to read.
Yeah.
And then I talked to a couple editors and asked them, if you're hiring reporters, what are you looking for? And this one paper editor said, I just want to know that you can write well and research well. So if you're a journalism major, great. If you're an English major, great. So it felt like a permission slip, like, okay, well, I can do this and then go to law school afterward. That was my plan. But I wanted a backup plan for like, well, where will I work if I don't get into law school? I'm not great with standardized tests. So I wanted a backup plan.
Yeah. What made you want to become a lawyer? What does anything stick out for you? At what age were you when you were like, I'm going to be a lawyer?
4th grade. It's always a book, it's always a book. It was To Kill a Mockingbird I read in 4th grade, which was probably a little young to read that, me reading age inappropriate things. But I loved the advocacy in that book, and I wanted to be part of, helping people and taking up for people. And I definitely, again, had unrealistic expectations for what the job would be like, but it did help me sort of plan a course. And I guess, if there's any young people listening to this who are like, well, how do you know what you want to do? Like, I think it's okay to try something because it sets you on a course where you're having life experience. And even if you change, it's still valuable. Like, it helped me to have kind of that North Star of like, this is what I'm working toward. Yeah. So that I would have other experiences along the way that were also really helpful. It's okay to pick something, and it's also okay to change your mind and do something different,
Yeah. Did you ever have any moments in college where you were like, I might change my major. I don't know what I'm doing. Anything like that?
1,000%. Yeah. And but it's all connected. Like, I've heard Steve Jobs say, like, you can't connect the dots of your life looking forward. It's only backward that you can kind of see how it all connects. And for me, it makes total sense because I almost changed my major to this new major they were developing at the college called urban planning. And it was all about cities and how they work together and how do we want to live in these cities and what things can we do. And so I did some internships with the mayor's office there and also in my hometown, and looked at like city structures and how, like, what makes people happy in their communities. And that's definitely things that I use. I'm not in local government at all, but I do think about it a lot now when it comes to how do we create experiences that bring people joy in their home, in their hometown. And I think Franklin is just already like head and shoulders ahead of so many places in that regard. So that was really helpful, but I was really fascinated by that. I liked political science. And I liked English, of course, and I loved my writing teacher, Brett Lott, who's written several things that have gotten some acclaim. His book Jewel was like an Oprah book club pick. Yeah. And so he was a great teacher, and I loved taking his classes, and I thought maybe I'll be a writer. That's kind of, that was kind of there for a while, especially my senior year. And he was like, yeah, you should go to law school still. Like, and I took that, and he was very candid about like, he drove an RC truck and he works at the college, like that you do other things too. I think I took it for years as you're not good enough to do this and you need to go do something else. But it's funny because I ran into him in Kentucky of all places years later. And I said to him, like, well, I took your advice. I'm a lawyer. And he was like, but you're still writing, right? And I was like, well, no, I thought maybe that wasn't a good idea. You were like, yeah, you should go to law school. And he was like, Tiffany, I mean, like almost all writers have other jobs.
Yeah.
Like you should still be writing. He was very encouraging. And then years later, this is just me telling tales. Here we go.
I love it. I'm fascinated. I'm serious.
You're so sweet. Well, so years later, when the Mother Emanuel shooting happened at that church is really close to campus. Like you would walk past that church and like the doors were always open, which is just what's so heartbreaking about that whole story because, they really welcomed in this person and he, and prayed with him and then he killed them all. And, I was just really torn up about it. And Brett wrote a story in Vanity Fair about his experience of just, reading about it on the news and like hearing about it and how it felt. So I reached out to him. I sent him an email and I said, thank you for writing this piece. It was incredible. It's kind of what I needed to read. And I so appreciate you writing it. And this was great. And part of me was like, please write more of this. Like he writes novels, but I was like, oh my gosh, I love his perspectives. And he was tough, like as a professor, he was lovely, but also like he'd be candid with you if something wasn't good, he'd tell you. Yeah. So I was like, this is just so great. Thank you for doing this. And he wrote me back and said, and this was actually before I'd run into him in Kentucky. And he was like, oh, we're all just heartbroken, but it's good to hear from you. And thanks for reaching out. And are you, I hope you're still writing. And I wrote back and I was like, well, I have small children, and Anne Murrell Lindbergh talks about, writing when you have small children is like rowing against wind and tide.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote me back and it was just one sentence and it said, don't you dare stop rowing. I thought that was so great. I thought, wow, what a great, but that's the kind of educators they are there. I think Franklin College is the same. Like they just have people, it's a small liberal arts school. They have people who really care about what they do and they do it because they love it. It's not because they're trying to brainwash anybody. It's not because they have an agenda. They're really genuinely trying to help people see the good in themselves, see the good in their neighbors, and think for themselves. Like that's it. So anyway, I really am thankful for that experience.
That's beautiful. I'm almost tearing up when you're like, don't stop rowing.
But he's an encourager and I love that.
And where did you go to law school at? Did you continue your career in Charleston?
At the time they didn't have a law school in Charleston. I applied to South Carolina, and I did not get in. Which, that's part of it. I applied a lot of places, but I
turned in the right direction.
That's right. I'm so thankful because I ended up going to Mercer, the Walter F. George School of Law at Mercer, the Mercer Bears in Macon, Georgia, and loved it. And then my husband now, who I met my senior year of college when I was studying abroad, he was at the University of Evansville, actually in Indiana at the time. And then he transferred to Emory, which was in Atlanta. And so that was great because it was like 90 minutes away from Macon. And we, Atlanta's a fun town, and Macon, Georgia is so precious. I love that town. It reminds me of Franklin. It's got a lot going for it. And so, but it's also a sleepy town, which is probably good because I really had to study hard. I'm not a natural test taker. So, but I love the people I met in law school. It was the first time I went into a classroom experience and sat down and like, I wasn't the only left-handed person. Yeah. There are a lot of lefties in law school and a lot of creative thinkers and funny, just like, I don't know. It's a combination of people who were like really super smart, who never say much in class, but do really, really well. And those people usually are like judges and like circuit, like they're federal judges or they're, clerking for the Supreme Court or they're on law review, whatever. And then you have the people who were in your classes who were like hilarious and never seemed to study, but somehow just like knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I'm probably fall somewhere in the middle of those two extremes, but I have to study. But
Yeah.
it was just, I met really incredible people who were funny, and it was a little bit easier transition than college was. They break you into sections. I'm telling you, Tails, you're gonna have to edit all this out,
No,
Lila.
I'm not.
Anyway, they break you into sections in law school. And so we had little section 2 so that you kind of bond as a study group, which I thought was really smart. And Garth Seagroves, who's still a friend from Tullahoma, Tennessee, would make Sunday dinner for our group. And it was like your Meemaw level Sunday dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like amazing. And Garth would make us all dinner, and we would go and like eat and be together. And that just kind of created fellowship, still inspires me. You know, I think anyway, all of this stuff really does like inform, you know, who you are. Every experience you have informs who you are.
Did you ever get like an Elle Woods moment in law school? Or I mean, whenever I think of law school, I think of Legally Blonde, because that's what I grew up like watching over and over and over.
I love it.
Anything like that's similar or different, because that's I feel like is a very mainstream example of law school. Would you say, yeah, it's similar or no?
Yeah. No, there's definitely, it's funny because I saw that movie the summer I was taking the bar exam. Like, so I'd already been through law school.
Yeah.
And I was you do get cold call your first day.
Mm-hmm.
And because my maiden name was Lauderdale, it kind of stands out, you know, it was like Fort Lauderdale. And so I got called on in every single class my first day of law school. But it was so great because, you know, I fumbled some of it and some of it I did okay. But my little section 2 was like, wow, you really got beat up today, you know? So like it was a way that I made friends because they were like, glad it was you and not me. So that was funny. But they definitely do cold call you. I don't remember big reading assignments before the first day. But there were some classes that we had. And man, but though the professors are just they're amazing. I still think of things in my daily life and remember something they taught me and think, I mean, it stuck with me in a way that a lot of other education hasn't.
Do you have more memories that stick out to you that shape who you are from law school or from college, from the people you met there?
Ooh, that's a great question.
What do you think impacted you the most?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. I think I figured out who I was a little bit. I mean, you know, it's ongoing. I'm 48. That's an ongoing thing, and constantly revising and hoping to be better. But I definitely think I met myself in college. You know, I was far away, and it helped me get to know myself better and figure out who am I really when all these roles are gone. You know, your role, like you're away from your role as daughter, sister, granddaughter, friend, family, you know, like you're away from those roles and you have to like, wherever you go, there you are, you know?
Yeah.
So it helped me get to know myself better. I think I was profoundly lonely when I started it.
Yeah.
But then I kind of figured out how to be at home in myself. But I do think, the 2 contemporary American literature classes that I took helped me find myself in stories and see like I'm not the only one. And I do think those were really formative, like just learning to see yourself and find yourself in stories and see like we're all figuring out as we go along. We're all just doing our best, or, you know, like helps you kind of figure out too, like how much you're conditioned thinking growing up and what feels true to you, you know, and it's usually simpler, you know. So I guess that, and I had good roommates in college who I'm still friends with, and that was good. I was involved in some different things in college. It's funny because like I don't keep up with a lot of them, but they definitely had a positive impact, you know, I mean, overall.
Yeah.
That's a really open-ended answer. Sorry. It's a great question.
No, you're
open-ended
fine.
answer, but yeah.
I love that. And then you also met George.
I met George.
How did you guys meet? What was that first little bit of dialogue?
We were friends at first.
Okay.
Yeah, we were definitely friends for a long time first, but we had a Shakespeare class together. But it was funny because our first conversation was actually not in class, and it was just while we're there. And he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "A small town in Kentucky. You've probably never heard of it." He was like, "Try me." And he was also from Kentucky. So, but I mean, it was not uncommon. There, it was the University of Evansville's Harlexton program, which Evansville's like an hour from Kentucky, so it's not like as wild as it seems. But we did kind of figure out like we might have been at some of the same swim meets as kids, like there were definitely some overlap. Yeah, but we've been together for a long time now.
An invisible string. That's so romantic in Shakespeare class.
I guess so. I mean, that's not to say like, man, I'm just glad that string is like a bungee cord, because like there's times when, I don't know, it seems like, how did we meet? And then there's other times like, oh, it was inevitable. But.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I feel like when I met you guys just as like customers, and I was just your server, like I always saw that chemistry between you and George. Like it was just so genuine. And like I always, when you guys come in as a family, it's so genuine and loving. I always get that vibe because I mean, I've been doing this for years. I can tell if somebody's fighting in the car before they come in, or you know what I mean?
I bet you know all the tea. Yeah.
You can just tell by how people are. Man. And you guys are always so loving and just have a genuine chemistry when you step into Greek. So I'm just like, I want to know more about that.
Oh, that's really sweet.
I mean, and for you to be like, well, we were probably at the same swim meets, but never saw each other. Like you were so close, but so far away. Yeah. I feel like that's so romantic.
Well, thank you. I think part of why I miss him all the time because ever since we met, like he's very driven too. And he was a really good student. So when we were in seasons of life where like we had to study, he was definitely like, we have to study. And I was like, but we could go do something. Let's go get brunch. Let's,
Yeah.
And so I definitely think he helped me pass the bar because we would go to, there was a really pretty library on UK's campus. He was getting his PhD. And it was before he started his semester, but we would sit at this library and he was reading the Odyssey for kicks, as one does. And I was studying for the bar and I would just want to get up and walk around. He'd be like, you need, 2 hours. Let's just do 2 hours. Then we'll take a break. We'll reward ourselves and go like, get a burrito or something.
Yeah.
And so he's definitely like, he can be so focused. He's very disciplined. He like runs. He's vegan.
For gosh.
Just for kicks. Like he likes to be vegan for environmental reasons because it makes him feel better because he's had family members with heart problems and he's trying to be responsible. Like he just like the doctor can give him like best optimal advice and he'll be like, okay. And then he'll do it. Where we're total opposites. Like I love a Pop-Tart.
He's grossly healthy. I love it.
Grossly healthy.
This makes so much more sense why he doesn't get any cheese on his pasta.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, so
he's the only person in Franklin that doesn't get a baked pasta.
Who doesn't want the cheese, right?
I always thought about that, and I was like, I wonder why, but it's none of my business as the server. I'm like, this makes more sense, George.
No, he's very, and he wasn't always like he'll every once in a while Anyway, I'll get him to cheat with like a charcuterie board. I'm like, come on, this is our friend the pig. It's so good. Anyway, but yeah, we're polar opposites, but we're also both busy people. And we're both kind of, driven. And we're both real. I think we keep our plates a little bit small because like neither one of us have like big hobbies like golfing or bowling or, doing things that take a lot of time away. Like we're either working or we're parenting or we're trying to carve out some time for each other. So I think part of why it works is because like first of all, he lets me be me. He never asks me to be small. He never, nothing emasculates him. Like, it's not like, some guys get really intimidated if you're ambitious or if you are, if a photographer comes by here for the shop for something, he'll step out of the photo because he's like, no, this is her business. A lot of men wouldn't do that, and I don't care. I'm like, no, be in the photo.
Yeah.
But he's just really supportive. And also he was like, you don't have to take my name. Like, he was like, you have a cool name. Why wouldn't, and I'm like, well, which is a total personal choice. And I'm not, we've been married for 23 years. So before, I was like, well, it'd be cool if our kids have the same last name. I don't want to, but he's just not about trying to control me or really anybody else. He doesn't control people,
No.
which I find really admirable. He also doesn't really hold grudges. He always gives people grace. He always thinks the best of people. I find that really inspiring.
Yes.
He's just like, maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe, he just always gives people the benefit of the doubt. And so I feel really lucky that the echo that's in my house with him is positive, that it's not, and it's never like, oh, can you play it smaller so that I can feel bigger? Never. So he just lets me be me.
I love that.
Yeah. And I let him be him.
What was the moment where you were like, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with?
Oof. That's a great question. I don't know. I do think there was a knowing early on, but I was very fearful because I felt like he's younger than me. He's like a year and a half younger than me, which isn't a long time. But when you're in college and you're a senior and somebody's a sophomore, that feels like a lot of time.
Yeah.
And also we were friends first, it was, but ultimately when we did get together, I felt like, well, but he hasn't, he's 21. He's not, maybe he needs more time. I was just so fearful that he would realize oh no. So I was just afraid for a long time. I was just really fearful of well, I don't know. Maybe he needs to live more life first before he would know that or whatever. But he was always pretty steadfast. He's like, no, I know. And he's very no nonsense about it. So I think that helped, but he felt like home, he just feels like home to me. I think it's important to feel at home in yourself too, if you can get there. And I do think I'm there, but I just notice when he's around, not to say we don't disagree about things, or I know there's things I do that probably make him crazy, but at the same time, when he comes around, I feel like my cortisol level drop. I just feel like human Xanax has walked into the room. Yes. I can take a breath. I'm always so relieved to see him. But I don't think it would work if we were together as much, all day, every day, all the time. We started off kind of long distance, and between parenting and work and all that, it's still, I don't take for granted the time we have, it just seems like it goes fast. I'm rambling.
I love it though. I'm always so interested though in family and maintaining a relationship. And I was the same way when I interviewed Tracy. I felt like behind every strong entrepreneurial businesswoman is a really supportive spouse, but purposefully sits almost in the background because they want their person to have their moment. And that's so selfless. So you don't see that a lot from men. I mean, let's just be honest. Yeah. A lot of men would not do that. And Tracy was the same way with her husband. He was very selfless, and it's not easy.
No.
At all. And every time I see George at the events we do together, he's always either waiting for you in the back, or then he comes in and helps you afterwards. But he's always has the biggest smile on his face watching you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it gets old, I mean, I'm sure he's like, you've got another event. But yeah, I try to support him in his career in the same way.
Yeah.
That's his, and that's, he's chair of the English department at Franklin College, and he does a lot of things over there. And I just never want to seem like that belongs to me. That's his, and he's the same with my business,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it takes somebody who's supportive and understanding and doesn't shame you for being ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, I mean, there's not that there have been seasons where both of us have gone to the other and said, I need more time from you. And you work it out, you find a way to do it. And that's the hardest thing, is figuring that out. But yeah, I try intentionally to make sure that I'm protecting his work time as well, and being respectful of his work and his career and what's important to him work wise. And he does the same for me. And I think we're used to hearing stories about women doing that for their husbands' careers, but not always the other way around. But I really don't think it would have worked any other way.
Yeah.
I will say too, I've been really lucky to have male mentors. And I'm very close to my dad, and he was a boss, and he was one of the first people years and years ago at his company to start flex jobs where two women could share a position because they wanted to work part-time, but they also wanted to be home.
Yep.
So they would share a position, and then, so they would switch off. And it was just something he was like, why wouldn't we agree to that? Like, of course. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
And so he was very much like an advocate for that. And I remember once too talking to him about life insurance policies. I go to him for all kinds of advice.
Yeah.
And we were trying to put a value on like, what do you do? And he was so articulate about explaining like, whoever is doing, you have to figure out what does it cost to pay somebody to do all of the things that your spouse does in your life. And even if they don't get a paycheck, like you have to value that stuff. And so I think it really helped me to be raised with, my mom is very like strong woman. And my dad is very like, I don't know. He wouldn't expect me to be anything but strong,
Yep.
So I think that helped me like understand like that is okay for that to be a norm. And then I've had a lot of bosses who did things like push me outside of my comfort zone in a positive way that were men like, no, you can do this. You can absolutely do this. And I think it helps me in my work now to encourage people who work with me to try things. And I also had a man in a meeting once, Joel Fishbein from Pennsylvania. Love him. I was talking in a meeting and people were talking over me. And he was like, Tiffany, you were saying something, but you got talked over. Can you say that again? Like first he said, you're going to have to speak up. He kind of whispered it to me a couple times.
Yep.
And I was like, kind of looking at him like, and he was like, Tiffany, and so like, I so appreciate that. I feel like we can all be noticers and help other people grow, men and women. I mean, everybody wins. And I also think it's really important for men to have space to be able to say, I really want to go to my daughter's recital.
Yes.
Or I really want to do pickup today. And like to have encouragement from the women they work with too, and the men that they work with, so
yeah.
I think everybody benefits if we can all support each other to pursue things we're interested in and be a parent, And I always tell the story about my mom went back to college when I was 6, and she became a mom early in life, and she went back at 6, and she had been staying home with us, and she went on an art trip. She was an art major, and she went on an art trip with her class to New York City, and she came home and was the most alive I had ever seen her. She was just, she'd seen plays and she'd gone to museums, and she was just like lit from within. She was just on fire, excited about all that she'd seen and learned and done. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to complain about her going to night class again, because this is so good for her spirit, so good for who she is. And I think that has helped me with like working mom guilt stuff, to be able to say, no, it's good for my kids to see me in my aliveness. Like some people feel that just being, not just, but they feel that in their dynamic life with their kids.
Yep.
And I think I do, but there's a certain point where I'm like, I need something that's just for me, because otherwise I'll hyperfixate on what my kids are up to.
Yeah.
I have trouble knowing where I end and they begin. So for me, I needed to give myself and them a little bit of space to be able to create. And then honestly, like when we first started having children, I mean, this is kind of always true, but when we had our first baby, like he was still in grad school and I was almost 30. I had to work so we could eat. Like there wasn't, it made it real easy to decide.
Yeah.
It's like,
right?
You get 4.5 weeks partial paid, because it's considered like, disability. It was an insurance that's what they call you disabled, like under the policy,
Yeah.
so that it kicks in and pays you for 4 weeks of time, but it was only 75% of your pay or something. So I had like, I had to go back.
Yeah.
Like
You
there
had no
was no,
choice.
yeah, either, and it was kind of good for me. Like, and I did struggle with postpartum a little bit, just obsessing about like, what if they get hurt? What if they, so anyway, I just think it's good for men and women to support each other. And Maya Lang, we did an event with, and she's written a really great book about caring for her mom with Alzheimer's. I think it's called What We Carry. It's a really beautiful book.
Mm-hmm.
And she's Dr. Lang. She's a professor too, but
Yeah.
she wrote this book, and we did an event with her during COVID that was virtual. And she talked about how she was trying to learn to lift weights. And she kept saying to the trainer, well, my lower back is really weak. And so that's something we're going to have to work around. And he was like, no, your lower back isn't weak. It's the supportive muscles around your lower back that aren't strong enough to support all that your lower back is put under all this pressure.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I think for parents in professions or people, caregiving, it's, if there's too much pressure on that lower back, like you need support.
Yes.
You need like this. And people say like, oh, self-care, take time for yourself. Like, well, you can't if you don't have that support. So it's finding
system.
ways how we can support each other better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was, like I said, when I was researching you and trying to find more about you and George, I was like, you guys are both wildly successful in your careers. And it's hard maintaining a relationship and also being a mom. And I'm just like, how do you do all of it? That's what I was thinking. I was just like, when I think about having a family or having a husband, I'm just like, how am I able to do all this plus have a successful career like in the next couple of years? I always think of you and George. You're both wildly successful. You always look like you have it together. I'm just like, what is the secret?
That's really sweet. I wish you could see the current state of the house because it's wild town. Like yesterday, there was a roofer there. Somebody was cutting down a tree. We had no water for 3 days because we had a pipe broken. Like, it's wild.
Yeah.
For me, I had to really, Jen Hatmaker talks about like in her books, like you have to take things off the beam.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's not nourishing to you, off the beam. If you love, these types of activities, keep them on if it's nourishing to you. But I had to really say no to a lot of things that it's like, that would be fun. Or I should probably do this like out of guilt or obligation. But I just had to say no. Like you can't do all of it at the same time, but you can, figure out on a weekly basis, what are my priorities this week? What's the most important thing this week? And also I think it helped that I was kind of like a middle student, like I was not, I think it helps to be a little type B about some things, because if I expected perfection from myself on any front, I wouldn't get anywhere. I wouldn't have done anything, So I don't really cook much. I don't have a regular group of girlfriends I go do things with. Like you don't see me on girls trips or go into galas or whatever. Like I will donate a donation basket to them, but I'm not attending,
right.
So like there's just a lot that I'm not doing, that so that I can prioritize. But what's most important to me is that I can be really present with the people I love and also, do some work. But I fail all the time, and there's definitely seasons where different things get the best of you, different days get the best of you. And I think of it sort of like laundry. Like, sometimes you're going to get all caught up, but it's okay that it's a constant state because like you're always wearing something.
Yeah.
And you're always going to have to wash it and then you always have to fold it and put it away. Like it's a myth, I think, that really keeps women trapped. That you have to have everything caught up all on the same day to do anything, or to give yourself permission to do something fun.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, well, I can't go sit with my kid and watch this movie with them if I'm not caught up on all these other things. Or I can't go to dinner with my spouse if I'm not caught up on all those other things. And it's like, no, you're never going to be caught up on all of it. So figure out how to triage in your life and how to say no to the things that just are not serving you.
Yeah. And I love that story where your professor was like, no, Tiffany was saying something. And that's what Jason is for me. He always is like, well, Lila was talking and helped me find my voice. And I think it's very much the gendered thing of, well, a lot of men want to put you down. A lot of men don't want to hear you speak, but there's always that one man that does and inspires you.
Yeah.
That's Jason for me. Like that
I love
story.
that.
Like you see Jason all the time where I'm like, the bar cart's going to go here and I want this there and let's do this all pink. And he's always been so supportive of it. And I feel like maybe my opinion of everything would be different if Jason wasn't so supportive of me. But having that support system is great. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without it. I love having those stories from you too. I mean, it's hard because, you know, I'm still coming from a generation of a lot of gender profiled roles.
Yeah.
And I'm finding my way out of them. Just like, that's not real. Like, I don't see that ever anymore. Now I'm just in the workforce. I'm like, I don't see gender like that anymore. But maybe I grew up in a time where it was.
Yeah. And I don't know that, I think it's just good for every family or people living under the same roof for whatever reason to have a candid conversation about how do we split this up in a way that makes sense for us.
Mm-hmm.
And if one person really enjoys mowing the yard, like, great, can you handle that? Like, but I just don't think it has to be prescribed. I think it's better if everybody has input. Like, and my husband early on was like, I really want to do drop off. I like doing drop off. I like seeing them in the morning. I want to talk to them. And I was like, okay, I really like doing pickup. You get the daily download. Like there were things like that that we just, I think it's better, just like everything else. Nothing's one size fits all. Like everything makes sense to be like, how do we work together? I mean, and there's some things that just by nature default to me that probably fall along traditional gender roles, and for him too. But if you're okay with that, that's okay. Like, I think the whole interesting thing about work-life balance and having career and having a family is just nobody has lived your life yet. You know, you're the first person to live your life.
Yes.
So if you can figure out a way to honor and respect one another in a way that makes sense for you, that's great. But I will say, I love watching Jason like work with you because he definitely also is not trying to, he's trying to give you what you need to succeed, but also not be in the way, you know, which is hard as a mentor, you know, and also I think he has full confidence in you because you've shown again and again, like you're going to hustle, you're going to show up, you're going to be creative, you're going to be inventive, you're going to try new things. And all the time, you know, people will say to me like, I did not know that Lila was as young as she is. You know, like people say that to me all the time. I was like, oh yeah, she's a boss. Like she's great. Like, because you're really poised and you're confident and you take on challenges. And yeah, I think it's really important to have those supportive voices. It's just so easy to get in your own head when you're building something new.
Yeah.
It's real easy to be a critic.
Yep.
It's real hard to be a creative. Like, you know, you put yourself out there, it's vulnerable. But you know, people can criticize all day long, but they didn't have anything to talk about if you weren't making something, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it takes courage. So if those voices are in your head that are close to you, that see you, that really know you, and they're doubtful, it's real easy to be like, why am I doing this? Because goodness knows, as you're building, it's not like we're taking elaborate vacations.
No.
It's not like we're, you know, I'm 9 years in, I'm still trying to hustle every day, you know? So it's not like you're doing this for investment banker dollars. These are, you know, you're doing this. It's the metric of success is different. It's a lot based on how do you make something in your community and how do you bring joy?
Yeah, that's exactly why I think Wild Geese is so successful, because it gives back so much to the community. Everybody loves Wild Geese Bookshop. I mean, when I serve, probably 20% of my tables have a Wild Geese Bookshop bag sitting next to them at lunch or dinner. And
That's
I'm just
awesome.
like, that's so cool. So
So
let's get into Wild Geese Bookshop.
Mhm.
I mean, what was the biggest push for you to be like, this is what I want to start doing? I want to start owning a bookshop. How does Wild Geese start their story?
Yeah, I think it was always kind of simmering under the surface, probably back from my writing classes of like, and going to bookstores and feeling at home in them. And then we moved here and I was doing really depressing work remote. So from my basement. And I thought, I've got to get out of the house to do
Mhm.
this. And I'm not going to meet anybody in the community doing this way. So I was looking for space to just rent, just to have an office that's a desk that's separate from my house so I could go and kind of have some normalcy.
Yeah.
Because as you know, with any kind of work, it follows you everywhere. You know, it just really does. I don't know very many professions anymore that don't follow you home, you know. So I wanted to find a way to kind of compartmentalize. And I found that space on Water Street and it was zoned in such a way that it could be mixed use.
Yeah.
And it was 500 square feet. It was super small. And I thought, it's so adorable. It looks like a bookshop. I would love to do it. My daughter was 10 at the time and was with me when I looked at the property. And then like a drumbeat every day after would say, like, have you signed the lease yet? Have you signed the lease yet? And so I wanted her to not be afraid to try things. Sorry, they have a baby in the shop, so you might be able to hear. I wanted her to not be able to, I wanted her to try things and not be afraid to fail. And I thought, well, even if I fail, she will at least have seen me try. And that's important. So that really helped give me the push. And I was about to turn 40. And I thought, if not now, when kind of thing. But I did both for a long time. I worked remote for a company and then had retail space in the front. And I had a staff member and eventually another staff member to help me like run the register. But it's been a gradual growth. You know, people are like, oh, how do you get all these authors? And it's like, well, this has been 9 years in the building,
In the making.
and it's been a whole lot of work.
Oh, the little baby cry.
I know.
I'm just like, oh. What was it like growing into like, now I have another staff member. Now I have another staff member. Like, what was the push that you're like, it's time. I need somebody else.
Yeah. Gosh, that's a great question. It's so hard. I think every business owner really struggles with that because you don't want to burn out the people you have.
Mhm.
And you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, you know. So every time we take someone on, I take it really personally that it is up to me to make sure they can put food on their table.
Yeah.
So it's always a hard decision.
When I put Abby into the role of helping me with the bar cart, it was very hard to delegate.
Yeah.
That is always the push and pull. And Jason has said the same thing with me. He's like, it's hard to delegate. What helps you delegate to all these girls? Because I mean, you have an amazing staff. And that's what I was thinking about when I was researching you. You have an amazing staff, barely any present turnover. I mean, how do you create such a great team? What is your piece of advice to creating a team?
Wow, that's a great question. I've learned a lot in this process. I don't think every day I think I could have done that better. I always say like I should wear a t-shirt that says I probably could have handled that better. Like all the time I'm trying to learn because before, you know, I opened I worked for a law firm for a while and then I opened an office for a firm. And so I was in charge of that office, really, me and one other guy. And so I've run a law firm before or like an office one, but not, and it's totally different. You know, it's a totally different, all of it's different. So I'm always mindful of like, this is just such a different atmosphere. I guess I hire people who were customers first.
Yep.
Because I want them to get it and know and understand what we're trying to do for people here. And if they were a regular, then they got it, you know?
Yeah.
I also hire people who are smarter than me. And a lot of them are people who went to Franklin College. Like some of them are Franklin College grads,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them weren't. But I had some familiarity with them. Like sometimes they worked for me part time during school, and then after graduation, they went and did something else, and then they came back and took on a full time role. But some of it's all gradual. But I guess they have to have been a regular and get it and be good with people above all else. Like if they're not, we're here to serve people. And if you don't like people, this is not the place for you. So it's more important to me than how well read somebody is or how, there's just so many other skills that are secondary to that. And if I try really hard to make sure that people feel respected here and that they have opportunities to grow. Yes. And I think that helps with retention. But, I don't know. I struggle all the time. All the time. I feel like I hope I'm serving them well. I hope that they love their work. And if they're feeling burnout or stuck, we try to change things up so that they can do a different thing. But I want them to feel empowered. I want them to feel like they can take what they're really interested in and really pursue it.
Yeah. What do you do with your staff to increase stamina on maybe it's a daily or a weekly or annual basis? What is your secret to increasing stamina in the workplace and keeping everybody in a good headspace?
Gosh, that's a great question. I try to be respectful of their off time.
Yep.
I've always told them, like, if you get an email from me at any time that you're not working, it waits until please don't, just because my work hours may be different, like, and I try to schedule emails too. They're teaching me how to do that. Lauren taught me how to do that. Yeah. Because, the reality is for a business owner, it's not unusual for me to put in 80 hours. Now, some of those hours are at home, like while my son's doing a class or, so it's not all on the floor, but it's just not unusual for me to do a lot. I think I can't ever expect them to love it as much as I do or be as obsessed with it as I am. Like, I think that's just part of it. But, we just went to Heartland Fall Forum in Indianapolis, which was like a conference for booksellers. And it's not always in Indy, but because it was close, I thought, great, they can go, they can experience it and they can learn. And I do think that helped get them inspired and help them think about like, oh, this is like a career. There's like a lot of different avenues to this. And I think they came back with a lot of fresh, fun ideas and they came back kind of fired up. So I think that's good. I try to give them input on, like they all get input on which events they want to work.
Yep.
Lauren Collins, our events coordinator, does a phenomenal job of like, making sure that we're not putting somebody into overtime situations all the time, just so that they're not burned out. Like I never give anybody, I feel like if somebody wants overtime, there's room.
Yeah. Right.
But I never want people to feel like they have to, there's seasons when it's busier, but I think we've gotten an adjustment now on scheduling so that a lot of the events team will come in like at noon so that if they're here later, that's just hard. If you have to get up in the morning and be somewhere at 10 or 9 and then you're here till like 8 p.m., that's just tough, So we try to do a better job of that. I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm always trying to listen to them and see, like, I always ask them in the weekly meeting, like, do you need anything? How can I support you? Are there any supplies that will make your job easier? Is there anywhere that you feel like stuck or frustrated? And I try to check in with them on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love that you bring up the Heartland Fall Forum because when I can't remember exactly which author event, all of your staff came up to get pizza and they both individually said something about the Fall Forum. Oh. They're like, it was so fun. Oh, good. I loved it. Because I always ask them, I'm like, what's new with you? What's going on? Like anything else happening? And They all brought up the fall for them.
Good.
They loved it.
Good. Well, I want them to feel invested in,
Yeah.
and I want them to feel like I care about who they are as people, not just where they work. I mean, all the time, like I had a boss once at a law firm and he would say, let's go home. This is not who we are. This is how we put food on the table. Let's go home, and he was really great about that. And I think about that a lot. Like I want them to just feel, I want them to love where they work, but also they're people first,
Yeah.
So I want them to feel really like supported.
Yeah, for sure. What is one moment you have had with Wild Geese Bookshop where it reminds you, this is why I started? Or like a moment with a customer where you're like, this is why I'm doing it. Because I have those and I need them sometimes. They come when you need them and it's just like, thank God.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of little tiny moments, not the big shiny ones. The little tiny moments where, without the confidentiality part of my brain is always on overdrive because of law school.
Yeah.
But like there have been just when customers come up to you and they're like, I really needed this. I needed to get out of the house. I've been going through something, or this is the anniversary of something hard.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is like so valuable to me. And I guess just any time we can provide a space where people feel safe and welcome and enough. I am purpose, do not carry diet books. I do not carry anything that's going to make people feel like, you'd be better if you were just a little bit more or a little bit less. Or, I just want people to feel like they've already arrived and they feel supported. And so anytime we have feedback about feeling that way is great. And then I do this stupid thing on Saturday nights. I started it during the pandemic and I call it supermarket sweep. And the idea was if you could have a few minutes in the shop after hours and everything's closed to see what's new and kind of do a virtual shopping experience because we were, that was a whole thing, but that was hard. But I started it then and then I just sort of kept it up. And I had a woman come in from the north side of Indianapolis and like her hair was still kind of growing in. And she was like, I haven't been able to shop in, this long because of cancer treatment. Yeah. She was like, I look forward to your supermarket sweep every week because it's just joyful and I can forget where I am and I can feel like I went shopping.
Yeah.
And it's like this ridiculous thing that I do, but that kind of comment makes it feel like, gosh, it just helps somebody get through something. And then I had another person reach out to me to say, like, I'm in the emergency room while my daughter has gone back to surgery for the broken bone. And I am overwhelmed with anxiety right now, but I'm watching you talk about this little stuff and it's helping me so much. Yeah. And I thought, if I can be mindless entertainment, great. Like I need that too. That's what, I mean, the phone can be like so hard and it can really tip people's buckets sometimes, to compare us to despair, right? Nora McInerney says that. But I think, if it can also just be like levity and less alone and part of community, then that's what I'd like to build.
Yeah. And I watch the supermarket sweep on Saturday. I do. Because, I work all weekend, so I don't shop on the weekends like a normal person.
Same.
And I will watch them and I'm just like, that's so fun. I think it's so cool. And the after hours portion of it, I love because a lot of work gets done that is not seen when nobody is in the bookshop. I mean, or no one's in the restaurant. That's when I get most of my stuff done.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm like, that's so real. That's so real.
Yeah. Yeah. You're here all the time. I was here one night and I got the life scared out of me because I heard this thud and it was the newspaper arriving on the porch from
gosh.
like the next morning. Well, and two, like that's another thing, like there's no, like with parenting and doing all the things, there are times when like I'm with my son, my daughter's in college, I'm with my son, then my husband comes home, I'll see him for a little bit, and then I go in. It's like third shift, so I'm here, late, but that works and that the world is quiet and you can get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
And anyway.
I love that. You brought up COVID.
Yeah.
That is a big piece in everyone's business story.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people downtown Franklin started their business a couple years, almost, it's always less than 5 years. They started their business less than 5 years before COVID started, then COVID, and now they're 5 years out of COVID.
Yeah.
Everyone has kind of a similar timeline.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part for you during COVID as a business owner and navigating it? I mean, I can't imagine.
The physical health of my employees was the hardest thing to try to protect because we were at the Water Street address. It's 500 square feet.
Yeah.
And we closed before. I'm just cautious.
Yes.
I am risk averse, which is, God has a great sense of humor because I do this very like, you're opening a bookstore? Like what? It's a very risky job. But yeah, so that was hard. And I had to have a mask policy when we reopened, which was not popular.
Mm-hmm.
But also we had just a couple of employees. One employee gets sick and some were full time.
Yeah.
One employee gets sick. And at the time you really, you had to shut down for so many days. We were still learning about this disease, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very proud that nobody got COVID at work during that time. I got COVID like maybe a couple years after the lockdown, and it was mild because I'd had all the vaccines. But but I didn't make vaccination mandatory for my team. I was like, this is totally up to you. It's your choice. But we did have a mask requirement, and my folks were very appreciative because even just day to day, sometimes people cough on you. Sometimes kids will burp in your face. That's actually happened, and which is not awesome when it happens, but it's part of life. And so I was just trying to protect their health. And at the time I wasn't able to provide any benefits really. And so I just felt like a big, huge responsibility to protect their way of making a living and their physical health as best as I could, so that was challenging. And then I did go back to I worked for Roche Diagnostics in their legal ethics and compliance department during COVID for a while. So we didn't have to lay anybody off because we did, there was no more events. There was, it was a total shift.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, it was years before I paid myself too, like really. So I did that. And that was the hardest part because my kids were at home because of virtual school.
Yep.
And, I was trying to run the business and also working remote for Roche. And, I thought I might have a nervous breakdown. This is just really hard. And, my husband was teaching from home. So we were putting a lot of heavy weight on the internet connection.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just really hard. I envy those people who are like, I made sourdough bread. I learned a language. I'm like, really? I don't know that.
Yeah. What is that?
I don't know. But there were parts of it that were really beautiful too. Like we have this green table we would push up to before when everything was closed, we would push it up to the door and have people sacked up pre-orders, or like their orders online. And they would come to the door and pick up, and I could see them and see their family. There were a lot of family walks in the afternoon, just to get out of the house. And I really cherish those memories. And now seeing those families, like the babies who were in strollers who now like walk in and have a conversation with me about their favorite book because it's been so many years. Like that's awesome. So there were parts of it that were really great. We had a bookseller, John Stevens, who taught at the high school at the time, but he was our Sunday bookseller, and he would also run deliveries for us on Sunday. And we had a magnet made for the car. And he was like, I love it. It's like the Pony Express, like there were parts of it that like, you make the best of it, you make the best of hard things. But I still remember by name the customers who like kept us going during that season. And just, I'm so thankful because it could have really gone the other way.
Yeah. And I think Franklin has seen a lot of businesses that did not survive COVID.
Yeah.
But they also saw a lot of businesses that did survive and they're thriving now. And it's so special. I think the community is so special because they kept us alive.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Insane.
Absolutely.
And now you're in this bigger space after COVID. You've been at this location 2 years now?
2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
What's the history on this house?
So I was at a meeting with like an economic development meeting, and Ronnie Oliver at the time was there. And I was saying, I need a new space because we can't make this handicap compliant. There was no way to add a ramp. I added like a temporary one, but it didn't turn enough for the sidewalk. It would like go into the road, which is not safe.
Yeah.
And if you have one family come by and like a family member has to sit outside while the family shops, it's just like, okay, I have to change this. I can't do this anymore. So my lease was coming up. We couldn't figure out a way to make it work compliance wise. And so I was looking for a house with a porch. And Ronnie said, well, you know, FHI had a house that got donated, the old hotel, because this was a hotel in 1911.
I love
and
that.
They're talking about renovating it. I don't know if Rob would want to, Rob at Franklin Heritage and the Aircraft, if he would want a tenant or not, but you could ask. And so that became my campaign. And I worked for years because I knew in advance, like that would be ultimate. Like I want a porch.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm surprised he didn't have a restraining order because I pestered him about it so much. Like, if you need a tenant, I will be a tenant. I will pay rent. I will be on time. Can't you just see it?
It's professional pestering. That's what Danny Causey said to me once.
Yes.
He's like, you professionally pestered me.
Well, I love that. Danny Causey at Discover Downtown Franklin also helped pester with me. He was on my team on it. Thank you, Danny, and helped me. And then Marissa's group came in, did the renovations. They did a great job.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was a long time coming. But yeah, that's how it happened. So I rent from them. They're my landlords, best landlords in the world.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I love that. And I love the positive spin on the professional pestering.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I bring that up in my intro episode that I was a professional pester. Because there are those people that are like salesman pestering where it's just like, oh my God, like stop, like lose my number. But there's a way to do it professionally and in a positive manner. And like you just brought it up. I love that.
No, you do a great job at that. I love that about you. To me, I think of it as persistence and getting stuff done. And like, I think that's really great. And I mean, I would also say that like you're good at hearing people's no. Like if somebody says no, I'm not going to like you're respectful of people's boundaries.
Yeah.
But if they're like, yeah, I'm interested, but they just drop the ball as I have done before. You're good about following up. Like you're just good at follow through and like closing the loop on things and helping people see mutually beneficial synergies, which is great.
Yeah. And I always think of no as a secondary yes. And what I mean by that is they say no now, but that's not a no forever.
Yeah, sure.
And there's always something we can do to collaborate and make it better and, you know, bend. I always think of that. And I've had, you know, boutiques where they don't want to do the bar card or they can't right now. And there's no hard feelings.
Sure.
I'm like, oh my God, no. Like, I still will go into your store every week. Like, I love you. It's nothing 100%. Personal.
Yeah. No, I feel that way too. And I feel like I would feel better having asked and somebody says no than never offering and then being like, well, why didn't she ask me?
Yeah.
You know, like exactly. I would much rather like give them an opportunity. And you're right. Like, I mean, small business owners we're all kind of just struggling to get through our email and like get the trash taken out on time and all the things. So it's understandable that some seasons are like, yeah, nothing new right now.
Yeah.
You know? And
I don't take it personal. And I see you not take things personal either. You know, I'm the same way. I'm like, I got to get the trash out on time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And
I'm just trying to get the schedule out on time.
Oh, girl. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So that's why I'm like, hey, like just like a gentle reminder. I never want to be like someone who's pushy, like a salesperson. That's what I always think of it as because I did real estate before and I'm just like, ugh, I hated that being that person where I'm like knocking on the door until they answer. That's not me. It's not. That's not me at all. I'd rather do it my way. And that's why I like the bar card. And that's why I like partnering with Wild Geese because it's a natural partnership.
Yeah.
It's not forced.
It's so great.
It's so fun. I love it. Like I always say like Wild Geese is my favorite partnership. Always has been.
Well, I just want to be in the top 5. It's okay. It's okay. But we love working with you. And I was just so impressed. Like you came, I don't even know how it came about. I guess you came to us first to Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren.
Yeah.
Because Jason and I came out from work one night and we were coming out the alley and I'm like, where did all these people come from?
Yeah.
They're all lined up. And then we had a huge surge in the restaurant before we left because we were like, oh, should we leave right now?
Yeah.
And then I saw everyone lined up at the art craft. And then for Wild Geese, I saw the sign and I was like, these people need to eat. That's how I always think of it. I was like, these people need to eat. They've probably been waiting out here for hours.
Yeah.
And that's when I contacted Lauren and I was like, do you guys need like a pizza vendor? Because we just started doing it with the art craft at bingo night. And that's when it came about. And then that's when I confided in Lauren about, I'm starting the bar cart.
I love it.
And, you guys, Wild Geese took a chance on me. And that's when we did the Lila Sage event.
Which was wildly successful because of you.
Oh,
Also, I want to say the
you.
teacher night in where we like kind of loved on our teachers and gave them a discount or whatever.
So fun.
They loved it. And what I love about what you do too is you put as much thought, creativity, and innovation into your mocktails as you do your cocktails so that everybody can feel festive and not feel pressure, which is so cool. I mean, half the time I get a mocktail. I had one of the regular ones once and then tried to check somebody out. And I was like, I can't do this.
No,
because I don't go out very often. I don't go anywhere, but they're delicious.
Thank you.
And it just adds something fun, it just makes it fun.
I want it to be inclusive.
It is.
And that's what I love about Wild Geese is that you guys are so inclusive.
Yeah.
And for me, like, I'm the same way. I can't drink and work. I'm not that person. I just can't.
I can't do it.
No way.
I want to go to sleep.
I drink the mocktails with you too.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not one to be like I never was a drinker. Even when I turned 21, I was like, no, I can't. I can't focus. I can't function.
Yeah.
Like I have one drink and I'm like you. I'm like, how do I use my phone? I can't do it. But yeah, I totally agree. I think my favorite event with Wild Geese was when we did the Love Island watch party.
That was fun.
That was so fun.
And I got to say, like you were just so versatile because I think I asked you about it like on a Wednesday and it was a Sunday. Like, I mean, there was no time at all. I'm like, okay, I've got a crazy idea. You guys have TVs. There's a community of people.
Yeah.
That was so fun. And it was so fun to hear the collective reactions when something would happen.
Yes.
When Huda and Chris are like breaking up and somebody breaks into song behind them and the whole room was like, no like way. It was just so good. It was just so good. You had to be there. I love creating events that feel like you had to be there, and like the, when you go to the Disney, you look at the Disney castle and it's like, ooh, I want to go there. And it just seems so out of touch. And then when you get in it, you still think, I want to go there. It just feels elusive. Like I want to be in this space. Like they create that kind of magic. And I think you guys do that too. This sense of like, oh, I want to be there. I want to be part of it. And if you weren't there, you missed it,
Yeah. And I think that's why Wild Geese is so successful because you have so many regular events and all your events are different in some way. And it's kind of like you have to be there to know how it was. So everyone's chasing that. How did you come about being like, I want to not only run a bookstore, but also run events? What inspired you to do it outside events and inside events?
Yeah, I think, there's so many answers. And so I'm trying to figure out which one to start with. But one of the main things is I think the greatest thing we can do as a bookstore is bring people together in real life to talk about things that they love. And part of why having a porch was important to me was to give people a gathering space where people talk to their neighbors. I think we're much better in real life than we are online. Online, people get really put into boxes, and I've never met another human being that fits totally in one box.
Yes.
Human beings are nuanced. Their opinions are based on their life experiences. And if they are exposed to other life experiences, they might feel differently. And like, I just feel like we're so separated online. And I opened during a week of a contentious presidential election in 2016. Yeah. We just had another one. And I just feel like, oh gosh, I get to love people up close who, if we were just yelling at each other online, we never would have met, I don't yell at anybody online, but you know what I mean? And so to me, events were an extension of that. Like, how can we have gatherings? I really love The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. But how can we have gatherings that feel intentional and feel valuable and people feel less alone and more connected to their community? How can they get to know their community? How can they get to know like, oh, there's all these businesses here. And I think too, after COVID, we're we're a little less hesitant to leave the house. Like if you don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be good to get you to put on something other than soft pants.
Yeah.
It's got to be
Right.
real good. So I feel like I wanted us to do author events always, and we
Yep.
did them at the beginning. And then that kind of shut down for a while, but I wanted them to be author events plus. I wanted them to not just be an author event. I wanted it to be a good time.
Yeah.
And I think there's not a lot of opportunities for adults to get together and geek out over things that they love and with other people who love the same thing. And so we try to do a variety of different genres because there's lots of different interests. So
Yeah.
I think it was all about how do we get people together meaningfully? And also it helps pay the rent. I mean, like we rely on tourism to keep things going and to keep growing. And we just simply would not be here if we didn't have visitors who come from other little towns or far away even.
Yeah. What is the city that people come from where you're like, I didn't even know they would know I existed? Like, where's the farthest away somebody has been? And then came to Wild Geese and they're like, I traveled all this way for you.
Oh man. Far. But it sounds like, I mean, we do get a lot of traffic from the north side of the city, but I think and we do get traffic from 65 where people are like on a road trip.
Yeah.
And they follow us because they're book people. And then
Yeah.
they see like, oh, Franklin's this way. And they're like, I didn't know it was this close. I want to stop. So I feel like we can't take credit for totally pulling them here.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not unusual on the weekend for somebody to come from 3-4 hours away. But I think too, because we've done so many events, we have a reputation for having a lot of signed stock. And so people come and like get the stock. It's so surreal though to just be on TikTok, living my life, watching my power washer man. I love to watch that man who like he power washes, or the guy who like cleans up people's yards for free. Like the edging.
I love him.
I could watch him forever. So I'm just there just trying to watch my little man edging people's yards. And then you see something come across your feed and it's like, oh, that's my store. Oh, they're in my store. Oh, they're talking to Kate. It's just so weird. It's so weird. And people are like, oh, me and my friend, we took a road trip. We came to see Wild Geese. We wanted to check it out. And we had this great pizza or we went to coffee. And so and I'm just trying to watch my little friend doing his thing.
I know. It's so nice though, because people can go to Maine and Madison and then to Wild Geese and then they could go to the Art Craft and then it's time for lunch. So they can go to the Willard or Greeks. Like this little area we have is so special to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm so grateful that I get to work with in the community and with you and just so local. I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. And that's why I was like, I need to start interviewing these people. They're so important to me and for people to hear about them. Because, I mean, I came into this after real estate and getting these little side combos with like you or Tracy or Amy, those were so meaningful to me. I'm just like, I want to know more about that.
Yeah. I love it. I do too. I mean, I'm completely fascinated by what you're building and you were just so willing to make partnerships and synergies with like everyone. Like it was not like you were like, well, these people I want to work with and these people I don't like. I see you doing the work. Like you're all over the place. Yeah. It's just great to get your name out. It's great to build relationships and to add opportunities. And so I think it's great.
So I said at the beginning, you had just won your Hoosier Hospitality Award. What was your initial like reaction? And I mean, you just had such a big year. You just got a great big award, being one of like the best bookshops in the USA.
Well, it was the Great Lakes.
The Great Lakes.
But that was huge for us. That was really huge for us. I cried about that. I cried about Hoosier Hospitality because I think too, there's just no level of you know how it is. Like every Monday starts over. You got to make payroll. You've got to you can never get complacent about the success of your small business. If it's doing well, like Fortune's Wheel is funny and fickle. And like I really take it seriously that I need to be able to provide income for these people and they do an incredible job, but I take that really seriously. So something like that helps you feel like it legitimizes you a little bit to publishers and partners who might want to work with you. You might not have to have as long of a conversation with like, no, we really care. We really try to do this well.
Yeah.
And we make mistakes sometimes, but like we do our best to try to fix it. And so I think it just felt a little bit like relief. You just don't get a lot of, you're pedaling so hard up the hill.
Yep.
And it just feels like a rest stop, or it feels like, you can coast for a minute, just to enjoy the view for a second, catch your breath and be like, no, we did work really hard and people did notice. And I'm not from here and I don't take anything for granted. In some ways it helps me though to be a listener and to notice what is.
Yeah.
And I don't care what people's bad blood from 1965 was in town. That's the thing. Like,
for sure.
I haven't been here long enough to know all the backstory of who hates who.
Same.
So it's wonderful. I prefer it that way. I do not want to know who doesn't like who. I want to just think they're all family. Like they're all part of the Wild Geese people. And I live in that dreamland. I don't want to know the bad stuff, but I also know that like, there's a little bit of like, who does she think she is? Because I'm not from here. So I never want to make it seem like I'm too big for my britches or anything like,
Same.
but I'm very thankful to be acknowledged. I want people to feel welcomed and accepted and comfortable when they come see us. And so the award does feel a little bit like somebody noticed that,
How do you cherish the moment when you get these awards or when you get these publications on your business and everything you've done? Because for me, I mean, sometimes I'm just like, yeah, we got that, but I have this catering order coming up and I got this, and this. I got to keep going. Like, how do you savor the moment personally for you?
That's such a good question. I don't do it enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm afraid that if I pause too long, it'll all fall apart,
Yeah.
I have a good therapist. She's wonderful. That was something that I started after owning a business, but like I highly recommend, getting a therapist if you can.
Mm-hmm.
That's been helpful because it's so hard when it's your own to take it personally and to take like every failure as like a personal failure on like a core level.
Yeah.
So I'd say that helps. I do think rituals help. So like if this was really good, we're going to go celebrate with, it could be something small. Like I'm just going to go buy myself a cookie or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like some ritual that like marks like, hey, this was good. I do think there's part of me that is always in the background that's saying like, yeah, but they don't really know. Like, you got this award, but it's not really real. That's so messed up, but it's there and I have to really recognize it and it keeps me hustling. But I think the Great Lakes Bookseller Award felt like, no, they would tell you, these people would not bother if you weren't doing something special. So that's been good. And I will say like when an author leaves us and you can tell they felt really cared for. Mm-hmm. And their publicist is like, they had such a good time with you guys. You did such a great job. They felt really cared for. That stuff is easier for me to feel like I accomplished something.
Yeah.
Because I think, our motto is sort of like, everybody's welcome on the porch. But our underlying message to that is we can take better care of each other.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really trying to do here.
I love that. Well, I could sit and talk to you forever, but
I know. I'm so sorry.
I'm going to do my ending questions. This isn't the last podcast we do together because I have so many more questions for you to hit. But I got to wrap up sooner or later. My last 3 questions, I'm going to start with this one. What is one piece of advice you wish you had when starting Wild Geese Bookshop?
You don't have to know everything. You don't have to have all the answers. It's okay.
I needed that. Whenever you have self-doubt or negative feelings / uninspired, how do you get rid of them?
Work the floor.
Yeah.
I much prefer the floor.
Yeah.
But Cynthia, who has For Kids books and MacArthur books, and she's also on the American Booksellers Association board, she told me you have to get yourself off the floor sometimes so that you can do all the other things. Otherwise, your business won't grow. So I try to intentionally not be on the floor that much so that I can let the good people who work for me work their magic.
Yeah.
But if I'm really feeling burned out or whatever, a day in the bookshop with customers gets me back to why am I doing what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
I get to hold somebody's baby while they shop. I get to
I love that.
do all the little things to love on people. I just need to go love on some people and get out of my head.
Yeah. My last one is going to be, what is one thing you want young entrepreneurial women to know, but does not get brought up enough in mainstream culture? I know that was a mouthful.
A man wouldn't doubt himself as much as you do. He just wouldn't. So if you're ever in that moment of like spiraling, it's like, it's been said that like if a woman gets a C in economics or whatever, she'll drop out of that major and do something else. Whereas if a man does, he won't. He'll just keep after it. Like, you don't have to be perfect at something. And also, if you're really asking yourself all these questions about like, with all the doubts, think to yourself, would a guy ask himself this many questions? He probably would be like, I'm going to ask those questions, but I'm going to do it anyway, because men are sort of supported in like, face your fear, and women are discouraged sometimes.
Yes.
Not to make big generalizations, but for me personally, it's like, if I can ask myself, would a guy apologize for this? Probably not. Then I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to close on, or anything you want to tease with Wild Geese?
We have a lot coming in 2026 we're excited about, so stay tuned.
10 years.
Yeah, that too. But really quickly, I started this fund through the Johnson County Community Foundation called Read, Grow, Fly. And what it is we bring an author to a school. Although at some point I want to do like senior living as well. Mm-hmm. And then everybody there gets the book for free. So we just had our first one, and it was Max Brallier, who wrote The Last Kids on Earth, and which is on Netflix. And he was at Custer Baker in Creekside, and we gave over 1,000 books away. And so if anybody wants to donate to that, you would go to the JCCF existing fund and choose Read, Grow, Fly. It's tax deductible. And our whole idea is, let's get books into kids' homes, because Dolly Parton Imagination Library stops at kindergarten. So how can we pick up where that, and continue to get those books in, because 3,000 kids in Indiana have to be held back because they didn't pass their reading test. So the more books we have in the home, the more correlation there is to academic success. So that's my big passion project.
I love that. Well, thank you for coming on. I am eternally grateful for you taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy woman. Thank you for taking time out of your day to talk about your life and how you manage being not only a businesswoman, but a wife, a mother, a friend, a granddaughter. I mean, you are so inspiring to me.
Oh, and likewise.
I love you.
I love you too. And you're just doing amazing.
Thank you.
I would say proud of you, but that sounds like I'm in awe of all that you're doing. You're doing great.
Thank you. Well, cheers to the future. Cheers to 2026.
Cheers.
We have a lot going on, and we're signing off.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Love you guys. Bye.